Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the show where a real statistics professor
and his cousin
gives you sports betting tips. I am your host, Professor Sides, and for the latest updates, information, and picks, you can follow me on Twitter at Professor Sides. You can follow my cousin Jared on Twitter at Cousin Jared. Today is Thursday, July 28th, 2022. This episode covers all of today's Major League Baseball games. In case you're new here, I've built a mathematical model for win probability and totals using hitter and pitcher projections I've created, along with weather data in order to make one side pick and one total pick on every game played Monday through Sunday, though there are no Sunday shows. That doesn't mean that I recommend you do the same, as my goal in this episode is to share key information about today's games, give you a few things to think on, and explain why the model or I like a certain play in order for you to come up with picks that you are comfortable with. I never recommend blindly tailing or fading any pick, but rather to hear the justifications and thought processes to make sure you're fully on board with me or against me before investing your hard-earned money. And as I go through my plays, remember that there are no locks in gambling, so I'll give you our loves, likes, and leans to indicate my confidence level with respect to scaling wagers. And as always, please remember that good and bad variance will occur. So as much as I'd like to say it'll be profitable each and every day, that is an impossible reality for any gambler. Cousin Jared, long time. How you been?
Yeah, been doing really well, and the model has been doing really well since I had not been appearing on the show.
Yeah.
So I guess if we want to get back on a hot streak, that just means I have to leave again.
I guess so. I feel like that's not a good thing. I feel like you add some value coming on here. People love hearing what you have to say. Yeah, and I tweeted about this today because I was going back and looking through the A plays in July are just insane. I don't know what else to say about them.
So I pulled up my BetStamp profile, and for those, even if I'm not on the show every day, I'm usually still making picks over at BetStamp. So go follow me there. Up 23.5 units the past 6 weeks. It's just been insane. 11% ROI. That's even with a couple of for me rough day past couple of days here. So yeah, everything has just been on fire. The model has been nailing things, and so I have been very appreciative of the model.
Yep, and we talked about the B plays have been struggling. Maybe coming around doing a little better this week. Again, if we can get those B plays going in the right direction with the way the A plays are going, it's a nice 1-2 punch. But if nothing else, we'll try to at least keep the overall winning going. I think slightly up for the week on all picks so far, and so again, just trying to keep that going. Before we get to today's slates and reminders, please hit that like button if you're on YouTube. Also, if you are yet, please consider subscribing or following. It's free, and the only way, assuming you turn notifications on, to ensure you don't miss any of the college basketball, MLB, or college football content that this channel provides. Share with a friend if you know others in the game. Hit us up on Twitter or drop a comment if you're on YouTube. We love those and try to respond to as many as we can. And also, as a reminder, you partner with Horse Racing Today. If you like to play the ponies, you can find their stuff at horseracingtoday.net. They've got a team of 5 with over 125 years of combined experience in handicapping horse races. There isn't an angle they don't know or bias they can't identify. And today, their favorite play is over at Saratoga Race 5. You can check out their YouTube show or their website. All those links are in the description. Cousin Jared, we got 2 day games today, and as of now, neither one of them have a line. We haven't confirmed the starting pitchers, so we'll talk a little bit about these 2 day games, but unfortunately, we won't be able to make picks until after the show gets put up. We'll post on Twitter and update the Google Sheet accordingly, but it will be, what we do know is it should be a warm day in Cincinnati here for the Marlins and the Reds. Low 80s to start, mid upper 80s to finish, and the winds will be blowing out to left field around 5 miles an hour to start the game, and then a little bit out or across. So that wind effect may die down as the day goes on if it shifts across, but it'll be warm. It's a hitter-friendly ballpark. The ball will be flying. The model says a total of 9.4, assuming we plug in Max Meyer and Graham Ashcraft. Meyer, I believe, is the one who's unconfirmed for the Marlins. He exited after his last start after like 1 batter, 10 pitches or something like that. One of the Marlins' top prospects. I was a little concerned. It sounded like he was, he might be done. But it sounds like he might pitch today. So that's promising news for him. Assuming it is those 2 pitchers, the model says the Reds should be slight favorites. Kind of as we've talked about here before with these 2 teams. The Reds' offense is a little better. The Marlins' bullpen's a little bit better. Both these starting pitchers are probably a wash. The Reds are at home. Give the Reds a slight advantage in a high-scoring game if it is these 2 pitchers. Kissinger, do you have any insight for us on this one?
Not much, but just my default whenever I see the Reds playing a home game in the afternoon, my default is just the over.
Yeah.
So, unless this line comes out at like 10, then maybe I would think twice about it. But if it's like 8.5 or 9, definitely feel pretty good about the over there.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'll be really curious to see where this total is because the Marlins have been such a low-scoring team. Their offense is just useless at this point. And Ashcraft's been pretty solid. A 4.7 ERA, but the advanced metrics it should be around 4. A guy who I still think is above average. It's kind of like a tale of two things here with decent starting pitcher, Marlins offense, but then also you said that ballpark, a warm day, slight breeze blowing out. I'm like you. I could see this total being 9, and I'm thinking, hey, let's go over. But I could see him hanging 9.5 or 10, and that's obviously a lot less exciting. And 9.5, I feel like I'd set it at 9.5 and just dare people to be like, yeah, what are you gonna do with this? Because if it's 9.5, I'm just gonna be like, ugh. I don't know what to make of that. So we'll see what number they hang, and we'll see again if it is Meyer or not there for the Marlins. The other day game, Rays at the Orioles. Couldn't get the Orioles last night. I think there were 3 games last night that we had underdogs in that I was saying, hey, let's take some plus odds. There were tight games, and we only won one of the 3, and that was a little frustrating. The Orioles at plus odds, at the Guardians at plus odds, they did pull it out for us. And then the Yankees at plus odds, and all 3 of those games were tied in the 9th. It would have been nice to get 2 of those 3. Couldn't quite get the Orioles as they lost in extras. Today, it'll be hot in Baltimore. It'll be almost 90 degrees and a 5 to 10 mile an hour breeze blowing out. The model says a total of 10.2.
Wow.
If it is Ryan Yarbrough versus Jordan Lyles, Yarbrough not very good, a 5.61 ERA, advanced metrics kind of say that's about what he is. Lyles, a 4.79 ERA, advanced metrics a little bit better. Lyles kind of an average pitcher. Ball should be flying there, kind of no matter who's pitching. If it is these 2 pitchers, the model says Orioles minus 163. The model's come around on the Orioles and really likes them. Doesn't think the Rays are that good. And if you look at the standings, the Orioles are like 4 games back of the Rays. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense. Like, usually we've been liking the Rays, but the model's kind of soured on them and just kind of said they're not quite as good as they've been in years past. Offensively, they're about the same. Bullpen-wise, the Orioles have a better bullpen, and Lyles is a better pitcher than Yarbrough, and the game's in Baltimore. So if it is these 2 pitchers, I feel like you have to make the Orioles sizable favorites. My hunch is, though, that my hunch is we'd have an A play on the Orioles because I don't think they will hang a number quite as extreme as we've got based off what we saw yesterday. So I'm thinking we'll be on the Orioles today here, and I have no problem with that backing Lyles, again, against the pitcher in Yarbrough who's not very good. It could be Yarbrough, or it could be one of those situations where they use an opener and then go to Yarbrough as the bulk guy, which wouldn't change the number whatsoever since he's the guy projected to get the most innings in that scenario. I'd be very comfortable playing the Orioles. To me, it'd be, if it's these 2 pitchers, it'd be an A grade, especially if we're in the minus 130s, probably minus 1, especially minus 140 if it's low minus 140s. Yeah. Once you get towards minus 150, maybe a B pick. Cousin Jed, what are you thinking here?
I was hoping that there was a line out for this game because I was thinking the same thing that you were. We were going to be all over the Orioles on this. Like you said, the model's come around on the Orioles and kind of disagrees with the Rays there. So personally, I think this line's probably going to be hung like minus 135, like just based on kind of like the value that we've been seeing on the Orioles the past few weeks. I think that's probably where it would open. And yeah, just waiting for those lines to pop up so we can get a play on the Orioles here because I think that's going to be the way to go.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be kind of in that same number, and yeah, I'll be happy to take the Orioles at a price like that. So the games we do have numbers on, all the evening games, 7:05 Eastern, first pitch, Phillies at the Pirates, low 80s to start, upper 70s to close. Winds will be mostly across, maybe more out and across to start, more in and across to finish. Not thinking there's much wind effect there. Zach Wheeler versus Zach Thompson. I've mentioned this before. You know, if you have a son, you should name him Zach because the probability he ends up pitching in the major leagues is like 5 or 10% probably. Another battle of the Zacks here today. Wheeler obviously is fantastic. 2.78 ERA, advanced metrics, just slightly higher than that. Top 10 pitcher in baseball for sure. Zach Thompson for the Pirates, 4.64 ERA, advanced metrics a little bit worse than that, definitely below average. I mean, huge edge for the Phillies starting pitcher wise. The Phillies offense is kind of up and down and all over the place. They got us a big A-grade plus odds winner yesterday, which was a lot of fun. But even as much as up and down as the offense as the Phillies have, it's still better than the Pirates offense. Phillies bullpen's better. I mean, Phillies have an edge everywhere across the board here. I'll take the Phillies at minus 185. I just don't love the price. Model says minus 187. If I could get a number down in the minus 170s, that's a B grade. I just don't love minus 185, but I think it's the right side. Everything lines up to be on the Phillies. I wouldn't really want the Pirates here unless I was getting a number like plus 200 or something. And then it would just be, hey, there's value, but it's not one I would love. I like the over 7.5 a little bit more. The model says 8.2. It is juiced a little bit. I don't trust the Pirates pitching whatsoever in this game. The Phillies have to score some runs, whether it's on Thompson or the relievers. The
Yeah.
question is, can the Phillies score 8? I mean, I'm not sure the Pirates score off of
Yeah.
Wheeler.
Yeah.
But I like the over. I think there's a couple different ways to get there. The Phillies, I think, can absolutely score 8 runs in this game. It's not the most likely scenario, but it's on the table, right? But on top of that, you have a situation where the road team should win, so the Pirates get an extra at bat. And if the Phillies get to 5 or 6 runs late, Wheeler's going to go out there and just try to eat innings, might, give up a home run just because he's just trying to get outs, get quick outs. This is a great opportunity for the Phillies to use some of their weaker relievers after a tough series against the Braves. I mean, it feels like some garbage runs at the end in a game that's already 6-0. So we can go from 6-0 in the 7th to get a couple runs late and get to 8. Like I said, there's a lot of ways we can get to 8 on this one.
Yeah.
I like it. I don't love it because if the Pirates don't score, it makes it a little bit tougher to get to an over. So B grade for me on that over. Cousin Jared, what do you think for us?
So this is a situation where I tell you viewers that do as I say and not as I do. Okay, so I don't get to watch as much baseball as a professor here, and so like I have a process, and like my process is basically if the model says it's a play, then I kind of analyze it a little bit and everything, and make my plays based on what the model says. The model does not say this is a play necessarily on the Phillies, just ever so slightly, but it's not enough where I'm usually like, hey, I'm going to make a play on that. So like just part of my process, I'm not making a play on this game. I have no idea why this is only minus 185 for the Phillies. Like with Zach Wheeler, proud Zach Wheeler fantasy owner here. I mean, this seems like an easy play on the Phillies to me. Like you said, I don't know how the Pirates are going to score.
How do the Pirates do anything?
Yeah. So I fully endorse a play on the Phillies, but it's just not part of my process. So I'm not going to lie to you and just come in here and make plays that aren't part of my process. So I endorse a Phillies play, but I will not be playing it myself.
Yeah, it's a tough situation, I think, because it's all about the price, and the price is a little bit high, but I'm kind of like you. Like if the model had spit out a number like Phillies minus 210, I would have just been like, sure, that's fine.
Yeah.
I think I think part of the reason why it's a little bit lower is part of that, baseball's random, Phillies are on the road. I think the other thing, just noticing, is that Wheeler's taken a little bit of a hit in his rating. It's dropped a few points. That could be it possibly as well. He was his last start out struggled a little bit. So maybe that's part of it, but I'm kind of like you. Like, I don't see how the Pirates do anything. I think the Phillies are the right side. It's just what price are you comfortable with? Like I said, I'm really hoping if this number drops just a little bit. I don't see it though. I don't see how you play the Pirates at a number like plus 170. Right. I'm all about value. We got a couple big dogs we're taking later in the show, but it's just not a valuable play on the Pirates. So like I said, I don't see the number coming down. So I'll take the minus 185. This play will probably closes at minus 200. And I wish I had a second unit on the Phillies at minus 185, but c'est la vie, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of big dogs that were on here, 7:05 Eastern, first pitch, Royals at the Yankees. It'll be fairly warm in New York, upper 80s to start and low 80s to close, with the winds blowing out at 5 to 10 miles an hour. No Benintendi for the Royals. Right now, I have him hanging in the ether. He's not actually listed on either roster. I guess he's being traded from one team to the other. So that's good timing.
Yeah. Always convenient when they're in town.
Always convenient, yeah. Brady Singer versus Jameson Taillon. Singer's a good pitcher. We talked about him. Again, I don't think he's ace level material. He's ace for the Royals standards, but he's still he's a good pitcher. He's a guy that if the Royals are trading guys, you'd love to add him to your team as a number 2. A 3.82 ERA. Advanced metrics say it should be in the 3.5. So he gets a 90 grade. Absolutely a pitcher you'd like to have. Taillon, a 3.93 ERA, about where the advanced metrics line up. A notch below Singer in the rating. So a little bit of an edge for the starting pitcher here with the Royals. That's, of course, the only place they'll have an edge, as the Yankees' offense is better. The relievers are better. The Yankees should win this game. They're more likely to than not. But again, we always talk about the value. A price like minus 215 on the Yankees makes no sense to me. It's either Royals or pass. We talked about this yesterday, say with the Cardinals game. I said, hey, it's either Cardinals or pass. And that Blue Jays number was just way too big, and the Cardinals got us a winner. And it's kind of a similar situation where yesterday I said Gausman was better than Wainwright, but Wainwright was good enough to keep the Cardinals in that game. And those odds just didn't justify it. It's kind of the same thing here. The Yankees are the better team and they're at home, but Singer's a good enough pitcher for sure to keep the Royals in this game. And if this is a tight game, that doesn't mean we'll win with big plus odds, but if it's a tight game, you don't want any part of a minus 215 or a run line play if it's, 3-3 in the 8th inning or something like that. I think the Royals have a chance, Model says minus 171 is the right number. I'll take the Royals at plus 196 as a B play. Just way too much value to pass up on the Royals here. Doesn't mean they win, but there's enough opportunity that they win, and that in the long run, it's going to pay off for us. So I like the Royals. And I'll take the over 8.5 with the lean. Model says 8.6. Model says this total's priced perfectly, so I don't think it's a great number to invest in on the total. I think they've hung a good number there. Decent pitchers, but again, a warm night kind of balances that out. Main plays, let's hope the Royals can pull it off as underdogs, and so we have a nice little payout there. Cousin Jared, what do you got for us?
Again, so this is all about the process for me. So I was hoping that the model would be like, oh yeah, we need to go all in on the Yankees on this because the Royals have made me mad the past couple of nights losing to the Angels. Yeah. So I didn't have the best taste in my mouth in the past couple of Royals games. This is one of those things where in my heart, I don't like playing the Royals. It just doesn't feel right, but there is too much value. I think the important thing to get from here, though, is that the professor only has this as a B play. I assume this was like borderline on A territory. So it's a B play. That's kind of how I would allocate my capital on this one. This may be like, half a unit, 3/4 of a unit to put on here, something like that. You're getting a big plus odds, so you're going to get a good payout if you win. But I'm not going to go a full unit on this one, but I will be on the Royals. It's just way too much value to pass up.
Yeah, it's worth a flyer. Put a little bit on and see what happens. Like I said, or if you just want to pass, I think passing makes a lot of sense too. It's just the Yankees, not a play I could recommend at those crazy odds because, like I said, Brady Singer's a good pitcher, and if I'm laying a number like this, in the 200s, I want it to be like, hey, we've got the much better starting pitcher. Not, Taiyan's not bad, obviously, he's, but the better pitchers on the other team. That makes me very nervous trying to lay a number like minus 200.
Yeah.
7:05 Eastern first pitch, Tigers at the Blue Jays. Tyler Alexander for the Tigers. It'll set up more like a bullpen game. Alexander is a guy who I don't think is going to go extremely deep. He hasn't gone that deep. He may end up with 4 or 5 innings, but he's not a guy who's projected to go 7. He's a guy who may only go 3 innings. So it's more or less like a bullpen game. I'm treating it that way, where it's not great for the Tigers. They're going to have to use a lot of relievers. Anderson doesn't project very well. So it's kind of a subpar setting for the Tigers starting pitcher, but it's a very subpar setting for the Blue Jays with regards to the starting pitcher. Kikuchi has a 5.12 ERA, and the advanced metrics say that is exactly who he is. He's been very bad. Coming back now, first start in a while, and I don't see how it gets better. It's the big knock on the Blue Jays, right? Is that they don't have a lot of starting pitching, and that's what they need to get to that top tier. Of course, offensively they're fantastic, but otherwise just not great. Alexander's a lefty. The Blue Jays are right-handed heavy, so they're going to hit lefties better. The model gives them a little bit of a boost for that, but because I don't expect Alexander to go that deep, the boost is cut back because it's not as if it's a lefty who I think can go 4 or 5 innings and the Blue Jays can really punish him. If they start hitting Alexander, I think he'll get a really quick hook, and that kind of minimizes that edge. Obviously, the Tigers' offense is garbage, but relievers, they have an edge there. The Tigers got it done for us yesterday, almost got it done for us the day before, and won the day before. I mean, they took 2 out of 3 from the Padres, could have easily swept them. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the Tigers, I don't know. We talked about the Tigers 3 times, right? We thought they'd beat everybody, ourselves included. We thought they'd be better coming into the season the way they finished last year, and they've been mostly terrible. But then every once in a while, they hit these stretches where it's like, oh, no, they're actually good now. And this is kind of, they're one of those stretches. And then they'll go back to being terrible. You just never know what it's going to be. If anybody knows what to make of this Tigers team, let me know, because they're just like, they're very bad. And then they're good. And then they're bad. And then they're good. And they're mostly bad. But then every once in a while, then they're good again. It's so confusing.
Yeah.
But it's kind of another situation like with this Royals-Yankees game, except instead of we've got the better pitcher for the Royals, it's, a good pitcher versus a solid pitcher. I'm more comfortable with Tyler Alexander and the Tigers bullpen than I am with Kikuchi. These odds don't make any sense. The Blue Jays are more likely to win than not. But again, a price like $214 on the Blue Jays is just way too much. It's Tigers or pass. Model says 180 is the right price. I'll take the Tigers plus 195 with the B grade. I think they got a shot. Both of these games, Royals, Yankees, Tigers, Blue Jays, just need to be close and anything can happen, and those plus odds are worth the payout. Like I said, take these dogs or pass on these two. And with regards to total, I'll take the over 9 with a C grade pick. The model says 9.3, so it's priced pretty well. I think 9's a very likely outcome. I'll take a chance on the over, but it's not one that I love. Because, Jared, what do you got?
The Tigers are a team that I do not play them unless it's an A grade. There is absolutely no way I'm going to play the Tigers at a B grade. The thing is, this is, I think, pretty close to an A grade. So just for me, eyeballing it without knowing what the model would say, if this got up to like Tigers plus 200, I would probably pull the trigger at plus 200. So something I might be keeping my eye on for the rest of the day. The total here, like if this were any other team but the Tigers, I'd say be on the over. You mentioned that the pitching was the starting pitching was the Blue Jays have, and it's one of those things where they could also like score a bunch of runs and like leave Kikuchi in, try to get 5 or 6 innings out of him. And he's going to give up 4 runs. So, man, if this were anybody but the Tigers, I think I'd be on the over here as well. But I just can't bring myself to play an over on the Tigers game. Story that nobody cares about except me. So, the professor won yesterday, got the under 7.5 at the big odds, the Padres and the Tigers game. Well, later in the day, I have a problem with the steep odds on that. So later in the day, it came down. I got under 7 at plus odds. I was thinking, whoa, look at me. I've got it made. Going into the 8th or 9th inning, it looked like I still had it made. And then the Tigers ended up scoring too many runs for me there. So I ended up pushing on that one, and the professor won. So that's a story that nobody cares about but me.
I know a lot of listeners are in that same boat. I know I saw a lot of people in the comments on Twitter talking about how they got 7, and that's why I said if you have multiple shops and you can chop around, maybe split your bet a little bit there. And I know for a lot of places it did drop to 7 eventually as the morning went on, and it blows my mind. I can't say I've ever seen the same team blow a 3-2 lead on back-to-back days. It's like oddly specific. And had it played out where the Tigers did the same thing the first day, we would have all been winners on the first day. And then either pushed or won on the second day. And as it was, the first was the one that went to extras, and that was wild. And I think that says more about the Padres bullpen than the Tigers offense, but it goes back to what I've been saying about the Tigers. I just don't know with them. They like randomly get on these spurts where they look competent, but for the most part, they look terrible. They're such a confusing team. I've seen some things about the launch angles for some of their players. Like it's all going the wrong direction. Players are just hitting the ball way too much on the ground. And so I don't know if that's hitting coach, if it's bad game planning offensively. Hinch is an analytics guy, as we know, as Astros fans. So I don't think that's like Hinch is doing, telling guys like hit the ball on the ground. Right. It could be, and launch angle is something that's fairly stable. Like it's not one of those randoms. It's like home runs for pitchers allowed is super random, like year to year. But launch angle is not that. I mean, you get half a season and like it's kind of who you are, So I don't know. It's very weird. I'm totally with you. If this was any other team, this would probably be a grade over just at this number. And if it was any other team, the model probably would project like 11 or something crazy. Probably not 11, but it probably would project for any other team. Probably maybe not Oakland, but most teams it would predict 10.5 in this spot because Kikuchi's terrible and the Blue Jays offense is good. But it's like Tigers are I just can't trust them. So I like the over. I'm just a little bit nervous because, like you said, it's the Tigers involved. And the other thing I think is these plays are a little bit correlated. The side and total are they're not never completely independent, but in this case, I think they're correlated in the sense that the way the Tigers I think are going to win this game is I don't think it's going to be they completely shut out the Blue Jays offense. I think it's going to be Kikuchi's terrible and they get some runs, and if they get some runs, that makes it more likely they win and more like the overhit. So just kind of another way to look. I think if you think that Kikuchi's bad and you can't back him, I couldn't back Kikuchi at a price like $215. That just seems crazy to me. But if you say, I think Kikuchi's bad, but I don't want to play the Tigers, then maybe the overs may be a slightly better way to look, because if the Tigers get, 3 runs, especially if they get to 4, this over's probably hitting because that Blue Jays offense isn't going to score nothing, right?
Right.
7:10 Eastern first pitch, Guardians at the Red Sox. It'll be low 80s to start, upper 70s to close. Winds blowing out at 5 to 10 miles an hour pretty consistently throughout the night. And a slight chance of rain. Doesn't look too troublesome, but there might be some showers in the area. Tristan Mckenzie versus Cutter Crawford. Mckenzie with a 3.11 ERA. Now, the advanced metrics do have him a full run higher than that. So the question you have to ask yourself from Mckenzie is how good is he? I like this guy. He kind of continues to outperform his metrics. I think he's a pretty good pitcher. Again, the numbers don't love him, but that doesn't mean he's not solid. The model still thinks he's above average. Cutter Crawford, on the other hand, below average, a 4.50 ERA. The advanced metrics don't think he's that bad, but a guy who's probably not going to give you a ton of length, not a lot of confidence. I still would rather have Mckenzie here any day of the week over Cutter Crawford. Offensively, I've got the Guardians with a little bit better offense. Bullpen-wise, I've got them about the same. I think the Guardians are the better team here. I think they can go on the road and get the W for us. I'll take them at minus 113 with a B grade. Model says minus 116, so a slight edge here. Once you get to minus 115, it's really questionable if it's kind of a B minus or a C plus type play at minus 115. At some point, if the price keeps getting higher, you're losing a little bit of value because the Red Sox are a solid team at home, but I think the Guardians are the right side here, and I don't think this is that big of a price to lay. So I'm comfortable laying minus 113 with the Guardians. And I'll also take the over 9 as a B grade. The model thinks 9.9 is the number here. I don't trust Cutter Crawford that much. If the model's right about, or if the underlying metrics are right about Mckenzie being maybe not quite as good as that ERA, I think both offenses can take advantage here. It's a hitter-friendly park. It's not cold. Wind's blowing out. I feel like there should be some runs in this one. I think the Guardians win another high-scoring game, kind of like last night. Probably not 13 runs, but a game that should be a little higher scoring. I think the Guardians can pull it out for us. Cousin Jared, what do you got?
How many runs did the Red Sox give up to the Blue Jays last week?
Oh, gosh, probably like 35, 40?
Yeah, it was something
in 3 games.
yeah, they gave 28 in the one game. So I'm going.
They gave up like 10 on one of them.
yeah. I'm going with the over here. I think the Red Sox are team chaos. I'm not to the point where I think the Red Sox need to be like sellers at the trade deadline or necessarily anything like that. But just you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
You could get a game that ends up being 28-3. So I like the over here. You mentioned the wind blowing out a little bit. Always put some balls over the wall there in Fenway. Easy to get a few runs. So I like the over here as well.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of this Red Sox team. They just can't stay healthy and or get out of their own way.
Yeah.
The Chris Sale thing. I mean,
yeah.
That was bad. If anybody saw that, I mean, he's walking off the field. He's holding his hand up, and the camera catches it. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that finger is not going the direction it's supposed to be going." That's just really unfortunate that they've got such an investment in him. Eovaldi last night, struggled. He's kind of struggled most this year. Historically, a much better pitcher than he's looked. Devers now injured. Story injured. I mean, it's a rough season for the Red Sox.
Yeah.
And it's a rough season combined with the Red Sox with the fact that the Orioles are competent. Like, it's not like it's a situation where at least you got the Orioles as the punching bag, right? Like, the Orioles actually can win some games.
The entire AL East is just insane top to bottom.
Yeah, we've talked about this a little bit. I think next year with the more balanced schedule where you don't play as many teams in your division, it's going to make things really interesting. I mean, it's setting up for a situation where you have 3 wild cards from the AL East next year because all those teams are going to be good. The Orioles are going in the right direction. The Rays are always frisky. The Red Sox, as much as they're struggling this year, I don't think they're just going to tank for 3 years.
Right.
Obviously, the Yankees and Blue Jays will be good. With the more balanced schedule, we could end up with like 4 AL East wild or playoff teams next year, which just kind of blows the mind a little bit.
Yep.
8:10 Eastern, first pitch, the Mariners, the Astros. Cousin Jared, I feel like Mariners playing the Astros. I don't know what to do with myself. I love the Mariners. I can't not love the Mariners.
Yeah, I think just the question you need to ask yourself is, can we bet on the Mariners? And the answer is yes.
The answer is yes, we can. Yeah. The confounding factor is that 3-game sweep that the Astros had in Seattle. I kind of think the Astros playing down to their competition.
Yeah.
No one would have expected them to get swept by the A's. Especially coming off the way that they've been played, but they have played top competition really well. How much of it's random variability with baseball? How much of it's motivation? I have no idea. It's not an easy answer. It should be a fantastic game. Logan Gilbert versus Jose Urquidy. Gilbert is fantastic, 2.77 ERA. Advanced metrics trail a little bit, but he's still definitely a very good pitcher. Urquidy, a 3.93 ERA. The advanced metrics don't like him as much, but he's looked really good the last month as he's changed up his pitch usage. So I think 2 good pitchers here. 2 good bullpens, 2 good offenses. The Astros are at home. Model says that the Astros should only be favored by basically home field advantage and maybe even a tiny bit less. The model here thinks that the edges that the Astros have on offense are offset by the fact that Logan Gilbert's a really good starting pitcher. I'll take the Mariners at plus 125 with a B grade pick. It's borderline A grade. The fear that's holding me back here is just what happened in Seattle, with those 3 games. I don't know what to make of this Astros team destroying good competition and then laying an egg in Oakland. I really just don't know what to make of that. Are they going to continue that now coming home and struggle here? They could easily struggle against a pitcher like Logan Gilbert, or are they going to then turn it back on and, kind of show the Mariners, hey, this is still our division. That's what they did last weekend. So I really just don't know. The value's there on the Mariners, that's for sure. Plus 125, I think, is a great play. I just can't quite get to an A grade because I don't know what to make of these 2 teams playing each other. Last weekend when these 2 teams played the 3 games, we were on the Mariners twice and the Astros once, and only won the one that we were on the Astros on. So just not sure what to do with this. But like I said, there's enough value. I think that plus 125 makes some sense. And with regards to the total, model says 8.3. I'll take over 8, but it's not one that I love. I think the price is pretty right there. And like I said, I think the model, if it's undervalued Urquidy just a tiny bit, maybe the right total should be 8.2, 8.1. So it's a situation. I think the total is pretty good at 8. I'll take a flyer on the over. Main thing is the Mariners, and the question is just how much faith do you have in them? They've made us a ton of money. Yeah. Cousin Jared, do you think they can make us more today?
So how much faith do you have in them? I have all of the faith.
All the faith in the world.
All the faith in the world on the Mariners. So definitely I was thinking about that series this past weekend, Astros and the Mariners, when I started looking at this morning. But it's just one of those things, like the Mariners, besides those 3 games against the Astros, they've
won like a billion games in a row.
They've been great. And do I think it's likely that the Astros lose 4 games in a row after getting swept in Oakland and then come and lose the first game of the series? I know I'm not a statistician. It just doesn't seem like that's something that's likely to happen. But I don't care. I feel like the Mariners have earned our implicit trust at this point, especially when the model says play them. And just looking at like the model's record on the Mariners this year, it's ridiculous. A 35% ROI when backing the Mariners this year, up 22.5 units. There's only one team that's above 28 or higher, anywhere in the same realm, which is the Dodgers. Model has a 28% ROI when backing them this year, up 15 units. There's no reason why, in my opinion, we shouldn't trust the model here. The model says that it's a great play, then I'm all over the Mariners. The professor doesn't want to give it an A grade. It's got an A grade from Cousin Jared. That is for sure, because this is probably, just like every night that I can bet on the Mariners, this is my favorite play.
Yeah, exactly. It's a borderline A grade. If it wasn't for the fact that the model doesn't really know how to handle pitchers like Urquidy when they change their pitch usage, that kind of just throws a little bit of a kink in it. And the reason the model doesn't know how to handle it is because it's not a common situation, and it can't overreact to every pitcher who has a good 5 games in a row. And so you have to dive in and see, are those 5 good games in a row because of something that's real, like, oh, I've decided to ditch this pitch or go back to this pitch, which is what happened with Urquidy, or is it just random variability? Because every bad pitcher has 5 good games, a stretch of 5 decent games, and every good pitcher has a stretch of 5 games that look mediocre, and we can't overreact to all that noise. So the model just doesn't, I don't think, know what to do with Urquidy, and that's I'm just hesitant. I'm just a little shell-shocked of that last weekend series. I want to be on the Mariners. I just don't know how much I can be. But I love the plus odds. The Mariners are a good team. I'm looking forward to Monday when we can put these Mariners-Astros series behind us and we can just go back to backing the Mariners every day, and I don't have to care.
Exactly.
8:40 Eastern, first pitch, Dodgers at the Rockies. It'll be a cooler one in Colorado today. Low 70s to start, upper 60s to close. Definitely some rain in the area to keep an eye on. Winds will be blowing out at 5 to 10 miles an hour. Tyler Anderson versus Jose Urina. Urina got hit around that last start. His ERA is up to 3.13. Advanced metrics still say it should be in the upper 4s. Tyler Anderson's a pitcher I really like, a 2.79 ERA. The advanced metrics do have it about a run higher, but that's still pretty good numbers here. Pretty big starting pitcher edge, in my opinion, for the Dodgers. Obviously, they have an edge with the bullpen and the offense. I'll take the Dodgers here at minus 201. I just don't think it's a great price. Model says 198. So I think the Dodgers are the right side here. Again, the model's giving the Rockies a ton of edge here with regards to their home field advantage, but I just don't think there's enough value here on the Rockies. I'm trusting the model in Urina, but it's only a C grade pick because Urina's done much better this year than anyone expected. And so I expect the Dodgers to hit him around, but just in case he kind of can keep pulling rabbits out of his hat, I don't want to be over invested on the Dodgers. As you just mentioned, though, Cousin Joe, the Dodgers have been a profitable team to back when the model has said it's okay to back them. And the model doesn't say you should back the Dodgers, but it does say it's okay to back the Dodgers. And that's a different situation than the Yankees and Blue Jays earlier today, where the model says they're like you shouldn't because the price is really bad. Here it's saying, the price is okay, not great. And so you can back the Dodgers. I just don't think it's a good enough price for me to give it a B grade, but I'll take a flyer on the Dodgers and I'll take the under 12. Model says 12.2, but I'm a little bit concerned again. I think Tyler Anderson's a little better than the model thinks. And Jose Urina, I don't think is good, but I don't think he's maybe quite as bad as the model thinks. And so I think really the total should be more like 11.8-ish rather than 12.2. But I think 12 is the right number for this game. So it's a total that I don't really think I can't really recommend playing. Cousin Jared, you got anything for us here?
So all I would say is that the model always has a little bit of an issue with the outliers on both ends. Mm-hmm. So this is one where I'm not playing the Dodgers because the model says there's not much value there, but like my gut says that the Dodgers are a good play tonight at that number for the reasons that you mentioned. You know, some teams can have some issues going into Coors there, but the Dodgers, they play there so many times each year. A lot of their pitchers have experience there. So you mentioned the home field advantage. I think that it's maybe a little bit less so with the Dodgers than maybe most of the teams. Like the Dodgers here pass my gut test. I'm not making a play on it, but if anybody felt led to do so, I would definitely endorse that.
Yeah, and minus 201 isn't the worst price. The Dodgers are really good, and the Rockies, as much as the Rockies have been my bugaboo, they're still not a good team. They've cost us when we've faded them too much, but they're still not good. And it's not a price at minus 250. I kind of expected this to be up towards minus 250, and then it's like, that's just really steep. But minus 200 is steep, and it's on the road. But again, the Dodgers have edges everywhere. I think the question you have to ask yourself on this one is, what do you believe in Jose Urina? The advanced metrics do not like him. He hasn't been good, historically. This is kind of just a crazy good run for him. And how much do you have faith in him? If you think that it's a little bit of smoke and mirrors, like the model doesn't, like I do, the Dodgers at 201, it's not a crazy price for this situation. Because am I the only one who gets Tyler Anderson and Tyler Alexander confused?
Well,
especially with them pitching on the same day.
Yeah, and there's also a NASCAR Truck Series driver named Tyler Ankrum. So I have some other issues there. But anyway, you're not the only one.
Yeah, I have to stop and be like, wait, which one is this? Which team are we on?
Too bad their name's not Zach. Then we'd really get them confused.
Oh my gosh, everybody else. If they were both Zachs, we'd just really be in trouble.
Yeah.
9:35 Eastern, first pitch Rangers at the Angels. Mid-70s to start in Anaheim, upper 60s to finish. About a 5-mile-an-hour wind blowing out. Spencer Howard versus Shohei Ohtani. And I mentioned this a couple times recently. We've had a couple of pitching matchups where it's just harder to see a bigger discrepancy. Shohei Ohtani, a sub-70 rating, is like the second best pitcher on my model. Spencer Howard at a 124 is like the fourth worst active starting pitcher. I think all the other starting pitchers like in the database are all like injured or in the minors. Like this is like as big as it gets starting pitcher discrepancy wise. I mean, I love fading Spencer Howard, and anytime we can back Ohtani, it's always good. Yeah. I don't even think I have to go through the numbers. Y'all know one guy's terrible and one guy's really good. And it's that straightforward. The issue is that the Rangers offense right now is better than the Angels offense. I mean, without Trout, the Angels offense is two guys and basically like a bunch of minor leaguers. Neither bullpen makes sense. The question you have to ask yourself is, how many innings does Ohtani go? If Ohtani goes 8 innings, and that is very much on the table, the Angels win this game. I mean, straight up. And so another way to look potentially, rather than laying just this giant price on the Angels, is the Ohtani props, whether it's innings or strikeouts. It's all about Ohtani. He's the only reason the Angels win this game. He dominates games. He dominates games against non-amazing offenses. He even dominated the Astros. The issue is this number is really high. The model says minus 200. I'll take minus 214 just because there's no way you could convince me to bet Spencer Howard over Shohei Ohtani unless you're giving me like plus 300. It'd have to be some stupid number that I would never get. Yeah. I just starting pitcher mismatch is just crazy. But like I said, I don't really love this minus 214. So something to look at, like I said, Ohtani's strikeout, inning, something like that, because you're really just backing Ohtani. So why not just give yourself better odds than minus 214? But I'll take the over 7.5. It's a B grade. The model says 8.7. The model has a massive edge on the over here. It's only not an A grade because I'm a little nervous that Ohtani goes 8 shutout innings. So it's like, again, we talked about before, if he does that, the over is going to be hard to hit. But
well, yeah, because it's going to be really hard unless Ohtani hits 2 grand slams. It's going to be hard for the Angels to get 8 runs.
Exactly. And maybe that'll happen. Maybe the Angels win 8-0 on. If that happens, I think we just got to retire. We just got to be mic dropping down. Ohtani 2 grand slams, 8 shutout innings. Angels win 8-0. We're calling our shot. Odds probably like 1,000,000 to 1 that happens. But the Angels should score some runs off Spencer Howard. And the Rangers offense is good enough to get a couple across, and they're definitely good enough to get a couple across against the Angels bullpen. The big question is, how many innings does the Angels bullpen go? Are the Rangers able to drive Ohtani's pitch count up and get him out after 6? If they are, maybe even after 5. If they're able to get him out after 5 with a really high pitch count, if they're able to get him out after 6, the Rangers probably score enough runs, probably get us to this over, and probably make that 214 a little bit of a scary price. I just trust Ohtani, though. And like I said, you couldn't convince me to back Spencer Howard unless you gave me the deal of a century. Cousin Jared, what do you think?
I don't like anything about this game. Let's talk about the Angels first for a second. My favorite thing has been to fade the Angels, especially the couple series before the All-Star break and then coming out of the All-Star break. I think they were playing in Atlanta. It was really good to fade them. So the model tricked me the past couple of days trying to get me to play the Royals against the Angels, and that didn't work out. Yeah. But I think the point still stands. I love fading the Angels. Like, if you follow me on BetStep, that's probably something that you're going to see pretty consistently. But again, this is not the night to fade the Angels. I definitely don't like anything about it.
It's fade the Angels unless Ohtani's pitching. And then it's like fade the Angels unless Ohtani's pitching, unless Ohtani's facing the Yankees, and then you can fade them. But otherwise, it's
So anyway, I don't like anything about this game. I'm not touching it, but just in general, I like fading the Angels. So let's come back tomorrow. Check back with me on BetStamp, and I bet you'll see a play on the Rangers tomorrow.
Yeah, and I added recently. I don't know if y'all saw on the sheet. I added some columns where I have a team's record and I have what the model would project number of wins based off what's happened, and then what the sports books have projected. And some of them are really close. The Angels, I think we've all missed on, and the model's been more down on the Angels than the books, but still not down enough to capture how bad they've been. Wow. And that's why you said that's why we faded the Angels a lot, and it's mostly worked for us because the books have said the Angels are much better than they are, and we've thought the Angels are better than they are, but at least we've been on the right side of that, and that we've been a little more down on them than the books have. But yeah, I'm like you. The price on this one is just, if you get a number that starts with a 1 on the Angels, I'm very comfortable putting a full size wager on that, backing Ohtani. But at 214 is just, again, it's not like it's not a Rangers or pass situation like we had some of the other dogs. It's kind of like the Dodgers. The model says it's okay if you want to play the Angels. It's just not a great price. Right. I'm not recommending parlays. I never recommend parlays, but a Dodgers-Angels parlay is not the dumbest play of the night. Yeah. They probably both win. It gets your odds more reasonable. Just don't go too crazy on it because it's not a lock, because upsets happen. Baseball's random. Upsets happen. Like I said, we had a night last week where the Dodgers, Yankees, and Astros all lost, and only one of those teams lost to a team with a pulse. So anything can happen. So don't go betting half your bankroll on that parlay. But if you want some late night action, at least it gets your odds down. It's not the craziest thing. I'd much rather you put the Dodgers and the Angels in a parlay than the Blue Jays or the Yankees tonight.
Yeah, and I don't do parlays, but if I did, both of these games are later, and so you're not sitting there with a dead ticket if the first leg loses early in the day. So that is also something that is nice, because it's nothing worse than holding the dead parlay ticket.
Yeah. And if you had dead ticket on your bingo board, I guess you can put an X on that score. The last game of the night here, 9:45 Eastern, first pitch, Cubs at the Giants. A chilly night in San Francisco, about upper 50s the entire night. Winds will be blowing out, but that means very little in that park. Justin Steele versus Alex Wood. Both of these guys have ERAs in the low 4s. Both of them have advanced metrics that say it should be in the mid 3s. I like both of these pitchers. Wood's a little bit better of a pitcher. Offensively, the Giants have a little bit better of an offense. The Giants' bullpen is terrible, and the Cubs' relievers are actually solid. But I've got an A play on the Cubs at plus 123. The model thinks the Cubs should be favored in this one, and I'll let y'all in on a little secret as to why. It all has to do with lefty-righty splits on this one. The Cubs' offense is extremely right-handed heavy and projects to be better against lefties. The Giants have the opposite issue. Their offense now gets a ding going against Justin Steele. So even though the Giants offense overall is better than the Cubs offense, based off the lefty-righty splits, the model says the Cubs have an edge in the first 5-ish innings with both of these starting pitchers here. And so that's why the model thinks the Cubs should be favored here in this one. They have a much better bullpen. The Giants, are we convinced the Giants are good? I mean, I'm not saying the Cubs
Nope.
are, but like the Giants, I don't think are that good.
No, not at all.
And so, the Giants being minus 133 favorites seems crazy to me. Plus 123 on the Cubs. I love this. I love Cubs at anything even money or better. No matter what time of day it is, you're probably going to get that. Maybe the only fear is like, did the Cubs trade Wilson Contreras like midday or something? Does he just decide not to make the trip out to San Francisco? He's like, I'm just going to wait to get traded. I mean, that's kind of the only fear, you might have in this one. But otherwise, I think the Cubs make a lot of sense. Like I said, once we get to the relievers here, it's all Cubs. Is that Giants bullpen is terrible. And like I said, the Giants' edges offensively are really diminished here in the first part of the game based off lefty-righty splits. And then in the second part of the game are really diminished by the fact that the bullpens favor the Cubs. I love the Cubs here, A-grade play. And I'll take the under 8. Model says 7.9. I think it's priced perfectly well, so it's not a total market that I really have any interest in participating in. Main play here is the Cubs at plus odds, A-grade play. Cousin Jared, what do you got?
I am on the Cubs as well. So the thing that I was thinking of is with the temperatures being the way they are, I thought that might like blunt the Giants' advantage there a little bit. And then, like you said, I just have no faith in the Giants bullpen at all. Yep. So to me, this felt like a 50-50 game. I couldn't believe that I saw, plus 123 on the Cubs.
Yep.
I didn't even know about the lefty-righty splits that you just talked about. So it made me feel even better about that. So I'm on the Cubs here. Everything that I saw felt like this should be a toss-up game. Really good value, especially, we've talked about it a couple of times before. The most value you're going to get is right there around the even money point when you start going, more one way or the other kind of. Anyway, lots of value is the point I'm getting at here. And then those lefty righty splits, you've got me sold. So I like the Cubs here as well.
Yeah, and to elaborate on that part about the value, just to make sure that's clear, what happens is when you convert money line odds to probabilities or vice versa, a 1 cent move around even money is a bigger probability jump than a 1 cent move in the 200s. And so it's the idea that if you move a price a nickel around even money, that actually matters way more to probability than you think. It doesn't matter to the price. The price is still the same. You're still paying 5 cents more or not. But that 5 cents gets you a lot in probability, whereas a 5 cent move out at 200 doesn't convert as much to probability. That's just the underlying math behind it. And so, the discrepancy here is large. And given that it's around even money, probability-wise, it's even larger. This one doesn't make any sense to me. Like I said, I'm not convinced the Giants are good. I like Alex Wood a lot. Again, he gets a 90 rating in the model. The biggest issue talked about with Alex Wood, I own him in fantasy, is that the guy struggles to go 5 innings. He usually goes like 4 2/3. And unless he's able to go, 6 innings, 7 innings, which he's done like once all season, I think he's gotten like to 7 innings. I mean, don't quote me on that, but he's not a guy who goes deep very often. It's very just occasionally. Unless he's able to do that, that Giants bullpen's involved in way too much in this game than you'd want. Yep. I'm like you. It's a coin tossy type game. Again, the model thinks the Cubs should be slight favorites here even. I don't understand this price at all. Plus 123 is just like the mind-blowing line of the day, in my opinion. Like I said, the Cubs aren't good, but I don't think the Giants are either. Again, as long as, Contreras and or others aren't traded mid-game, Justin Steele's a good enough pitcher to back, in my opinion. It seems pretty straightforward.
Yep.
All right. Well, my recap of the A plays, that was it. Cubs plus 123. I talk about this sometimes before, right? Some days we have like just a ton of A plays, and I'm like, hey, I think there's a lot of value on the board. Let's invest extra units. In the long run, I think we got all these plays and the aggregate, I think it'll work out. And I always talk about, hey, sometimes it's not going to be that way. Sometimes there's one A play. That's today. Now, I do think we probably have a decent chance at an Orioles A play once we get off of this and this recording here and post on Twitter. Maybe another one in the day games. But of the night games, one A play, that's the Cubs. Maybe something in the day. Shortest slate of A plays I can remember all season. Cousin Jared, any parting words for us?
30 days until week 0 of college football season.
There we go. And if you haven't checked out our college football previews, we gave out some best bet winners for season bets. We talked about a couple of conference props. Each one of those shows is about an hour long. So check those out if you haven't yet. We're planning on 3 shows a week during college football season. Cousin Jared, I know you're excited about that.
Yeah.
I feel like the season's creeping up slowly, and it is. It's creeping up in a good way. I'm excited for it, but it is kind of like, man, it's getting close.
Yeah, it feels like it's slowly getting here, and then once it starts, it's just going to be a blur.
Yeah, I haven't yet dusted the model off of that. I need to get back into that at some point, dust it off, and like get it rolling and start getting the inputs in and get it built up for those week
Yeah,
zero games.
well, yeah, because I can talk a lot about college football, but I got to have somebody else to talk to. Got to tell me what the model's saying, because that's what I
Especially
rely on.
especially when you talk about some of those, the Yukons of the world and the Florida Atlantics of the world, right? You need the model to be like, I don't know how good they are. Like someone else tell me, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Alrighty. Well, that's all we have for you today. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Picks with the Professor. A reminder, check out the Google Sheet for model picks, projections, and results. You can find that link and more at the website, www.pickswiththeprofessor.com. If you haven't done so yet, please click that subscribe button to ensure all the sports betting content we provide on this channel is dropped into your feed. I'll see you tomorrow. And until then, remember, you can eat your betting money, but please don't bet your eating money.